Hello, I want to sincerely thank you for watching this video. I want to talk about 3 things that I wish I would have embraced earlier as a musician. And I'm going to count down in order of importance. Number 3, yeah, I'm one of those guys who I've been blessed with the gift of being able to hear something and play it back with ease, right? However, I felt like that was part of my reasoning for not exploring theory completely. Like, I felt like by knowing theory or studying it, that I would have been hindering my creativity. Does that make sense to you? So in other words, I felt like, let's just say that this box, okay, or this circle, let's say this circle is theory. And I felt like by knowing theory that I would have been locked in this circle, right? And I wouldn't have been able to break outside of it. So I felt like by being so gifted with the ear and being able to just kind of hear things in my head or hear other things and be able to just merge with it with ease, I felt like by knowing theory that it would limit me breaking out of the circle. Like I would be stuck, you know, I'd be like, oh, well, I'm not really supposed to play that note there, so I'm not going to do it. Well, that was wrong. I know now that that was a serious misstep. So to all you musicians out there, learn your theory. I think it's important. I think it can only help you. Number 2, this is a very important thing. Being on time to rehearsal, being on time to a show. These are things that I never, ever took seriously as a musician. Like when I was, you know, recording in the studio, rehearsals, going to play shows, I was that guy who would always be late. And I almost pushed it because I wanted to make a point. And I'm really fortunate that it never got me kicked out of a band. And that's really a miracle because I don't know how some of these guys put up with me for as long as they did, but they did. It was kind of a pain in the ass, and that leads into my next thing. Number 1, this one's hard to admit, but it's true. I wish that I would have been more open to suggestions from others. And what I mean by that, being a musician, primarily a bassist, I always took pride in the fact that I wrote all of my bass lines. I would generally, that was my department. I would tell another musician, like, so for example, maybe a guitarist would say, hey man, that's great what you're playing. And they would always be nice about it, but they would say something like, well, listen, what you're doing's good, but could you possibly do this here? Like maybe play these notes or do something like that. And I would be like, what? Are you kidding me? So you're saying you don't like what I'm doing? And of course they'd be like, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'd be like, yeah, that's what you're saying. You want to play the bass too? You want to play bass and guitar at the same time? I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I would do. And I realized that I really hurt myself by doing that. You know, I could have learned a lot more. Now, as time went on, I started learning to take suggestions, but I was still a little bit, I always had this grudge against guitarists. Like I would always kind of push them and kind of feel like, you know, the guitarist gets all the attention. Bassists are cooler than guitarists. You know, I would say nonsense like that, even though that I started out playing guitar. But I would always, generally, I would take suggestions more from a drummer. So if a drummer said, hey man, why don't you try doing this? After a while, I really warmed up to that and I would listen to them. And as I got a little bit older, I would start to listen more to the guitarist and whoever else is in the band. Like if they wanted something, I would be open to it. So that is by far, I would say, out of everything that I've learned as a musician, I could go on and on about other things, but number 1 is don't like close yourself off to a suggestion. Listen to your fellow bandmates. You know, it's a camaraderie thing. You're like part of a team. And as they say, there is no I in team, but I felt that way, especially early on. Like those first, I'd say the first 5 years of me being out there collaborating with others and gigging and all that stuff, man, if someone came up to me and tried to suggest to me like a different type approach to a bass line, I would bite their head off. And I feel bad about that now. I honestly feel a lot of remorse for the way I acted. And like I said, I can come up with another list of things that I wish I would have learned sooner. But for now, this is just a quick video. This is kind of like my opening video to this channel. Please like and subscribe here. I have plenty of stories and material and things to tell you about my life as a musician, you know, coming out of the 90s into the early 2000s. I've had quite a journey, so I would love to share that with you all, and I appreciate you watching the video this far. Thanks a lot, and I will have another video out to you soon.